The Golden State Warriors defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves 99-88 in game one of the second round matchup. They stole game one on the road. And I have a few things to say about this game. And a lot of it is going to be directed towards the Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't come out with the right attitude from the beginning when it came to playing this game. I saw a team that was sluggish and wasn't prepared to play. Like they were lazy, lackadaisical on a lot of these possessions in the first quarter, or you can even say the first half. They were just like sleepwalking throughout the game. And that to me is unacceptable. This is the playoffs. You got to take these games seriously. I don't know why they had this mentality, but I think they believed that this game would be easy. I really do. They were just lazy out there and they weren't really trying to begin with. That's what I saw in the first half. Just complete laziness, not enough effort. They weren't winning the 50-50 balls with the Warriors. They were just like, they just lacked effort. The Warriors came with a lot more effort, a lot more desperation. That to me was the biggest thing. I'm going to call out Anthony Edwards shooting 1 for 9 in the first half. I think he only had like 3 points. He was pathetic. He looked like absolute trash out there. Absolute ass, I have to say. Like complete garbage. He was settling for just jump shots. He wasn't playing aggressive. And I think that allowed Minnesota to get into that hole because they were leading at the end of the first quarter despite playing like garbage. But in the second quarter, that's when Golden State took advantage of the game. And I think a lot of that has to do with Anthony Edwards. He wasn't playing with a lot of aggression on the offensive end. He wasn't taking to the hole. He was selling too much for jump shots. And I think that just set the tone for the rest of his team, that they were not playing aggressive enough. They weren't playing with a sense of urgency. That I had to point that out. So that was pathetic to see. Like it really was. And to just add insult to injury in this game, Stephen Curry in the late in the second quarter went out with a hamstring injury and he didn't return. So you would think even though the Wolves were down at halftime, I believe it was by 13 points, that with Curry being out for the game, they could come back and they would win this game, right? But no, they weren't able to do that. They weren't able to mount a successful comeback. So that to me is concerning in that regard, that they just couldn't muster the ability to come back and win this game. Now, I will say for the Warriors, Buddy Hield hit some timely shots, which is driving me nuts because I hate this Rastafarian motherfucker. Just it drives me crazy to see this guy now going fire these last two games. And I say this as a Warriors hater, so it's frustrating, but I give him credit. He's very underrated for the Warriors with his timely threes. He's been hitting the last two games. Whenever they need a shot in the worst way, he answers. Draymond Green started out hot in this game. I think he hit his first 4 threes in a row, and then he missed the next 6. He's been pretty fluky the last 2 games from 3 also. I think eventually he's going to come back down to earth. That right now he's feeling it, but I think he'll come down. But it did affect Minnesota's defense because Gobert was giving him space to hit those threes, which they had to change up in the second half with Gobert closing in on him, which opened up the passing lanes for other Warriors to get layups and dunks, which was huge, I would say. But I would also say Jimmy Butler was big, even though he had a terrible shooting game. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. So he was big in this game. But the Timberwolves, really, this game was about lack of effort, lack of intensity. I would say the only guy who really played well in the Timberwolves was like Naz Reid. That's the guy who played well, and Jaden McDaniels. The rest of the team was pure trash. Granted, I would say Gobert also played well. Shot 4 of 7, had 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. He did his part, but Anthony Edwards, I felt, didn't do enough, and Julius Randle was trash in this game. Granted, there are some I would say there's some positives that towards the end of the game, it seemed like both Edwards and Randle were starting to get comfortable getting their points in the game and figuring out how to score against the Warriors defense. But they laid an egg in that first half, and it really cost their team. And like I said, this is the playoffs. You got to come strong for the beginning. You can't just get behind by a lot and then just try when it's like too late. And that was the case with the Wolves. The other thing I'm going to say is the Timberwolves shot piss poor from 3-point land, 5 of 29 from the field. And it drives me nuts in this era that we see teams consistently jacking up threes, even when they're shooting putrid percentages, like 5 of 29. Like, why the fuck are you shooting threes? And I would say you could say the same thing about Boston the other night when they had a stretch where they missed 19 of 23s in the third quarter. Like you got to stop chucking these threes after a certain amount of misses. You got to realize like, wow, this is not going to work for me. I need to try something different. Let me just get like a 2-pointer, a mid-range shot. I swear, if I was a coach, I would have some rule where if my team missed 5 threes in a row, that the next possession they had to take at least a mid-range 2 or something. Because if you hit mid-range shots and they fall, that actually brings your confidence back up where you can start hitting threes. I know it's from experience from playing basketball. It's ridiculous how these teams don't have a system now where they can even hit simple mid-range shots when their 3-point shots are not falling. And that was the case of the Wolves in this game. Some of it, I guess you can credit to the Warriors defense, but a lot of it, they were just bricking like open threes, good threes. They just couldn't make them. That to me is very, very frustrating, but it'll be interesting how the Timberwolves come out for game 2. I don't know what will be Curry's situation, how severe the hamstring is. If his hamstring injury is serious, then the Warriors, I would say, are in trouble because they're not going to win this series without Curry being healthy. The hamstring injury is a bitch. It does limit your mobility. So this could be something that hurts the Warriors going forward. But we'll have to see. Now, looking at the Timberwolves, they're in a must-win situation for game 2. They have to get that game. The other thing I would say that's frustrating is just them losing game 1. Like, it's like we've seen this story like 3 times with the Warriors the last few years. They always tend to win game 1 against some inexperienced team. Like we saw it a few years ago against the Grizzlies. We saw it with the Rockets this year. And now we saw it with the Wolves. Granted, I guess you could say they're not that inexperienced because they went to the conference finals last year. But it's like these young teams, they choke like scared bitches whenever they play the Warriors. Just like, my God, can you guys just step on their fucking throats? Just take them out for once? But that's all I have to say. Just very frustrated. I would also say Anthony Edwards, you gotta step up, man. You gotta dominate from start to finish. You can't just have a half where you're playing like complete garbage. You gotta start from the beginning and play all 48 minutes with aggression. That you gotta do that. Like, you're supposed to be a superstar. You're getting the hype. You're getting the flash. Live up to it, for God's sakes. Go dominate the fucking game. I don't have anything else to say. Just had to sound off.